Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Online Darts Fallout Bar as we reach the conclusion of night 11 of the 2026 PDC Premier League. Dan Simpson here, joining you from up here in Teesside. I am joined both from across the Pennines and across the pond. It is the Triple D show this evening, joined over on the other side of the pond by Dave Connolly and on the other side of the Pennines by Dan Spedding. Gentlemen, how are we tonight, chaps?
Yeah, good. This is a pretty interesting night. I think we're the O2 is starting to feel like a real thing, and every match is starting to ramp up in implications, and those points are becoming, there's less and less of them out there, so the matches are becoming more and more important, and we're getting down the home stretch here, but it was a fun night.
Yeah, it feels like we're starting to get a clearer picture of who's going to be battling amongst each other for the O2. It feels like a night where a lot has happened tonight, and there's been a bit of movement.
Yeah, I feel like the night had quite a bit of promise in terms of, I thought there was opportunity for things to go a little bit different to how they'd been going. I thought there were opportunities for people to come through maybe from the bottom of the table, for that midfield to sort of get mixed up a bit. And in the end, we ended up with number one and number two in the final. So it looked like there was a lot of opportunity for chaos, and we just ended up having the same two there. Good evening to everybody in the chat room. It's already pretty busy in there. I can see Gordon and Paddy and Shelty, one of the members, is in as well. If you're in the chat room, if you're watching along, make sure you are subscribed so you can get involved in the chat for a bit of banter. And as we get later in the show, we'll do some predictions because the Premier League continues. And next week, we will be going to Liverpool, aren't we?
I think so.
Is it Liverpool?
I got it right here. Yes, it is Liverpool.
Yeah, I thought so. So we'll have a little bit of a chat about what's going to happen next week in Liverpool and who's going to win. But before we do that, we will break down all of the action from earlier tonight. And we will go, I often say it feels like a long time ago, but it doesn't really, because it felt like it went at quite a nice pace this evening. I don't know, the game seemed to go pretty fast. We'd finished nice and early. So, yeah, this was an interesting one, Dave, to start off with Luke Littler and Gezi Price. Littler winning 6-3, and that reception, I think, so I've seen the footage that was filmed in the arena, and I watched it on the TV stream. I think they may have turned those boos down a little bit. Have you heard the footage from the arena?
Yes, yeah, and Phil was telling us in our little chat, obviously he was there live, and he was like, this is ridiculous. And you could feel it, but maybe not at the level it was from footage we saw online and things like that. I think the difference here is it seemed last week like it did catch Luke a little off guard, being booed and really becoming like this villain, at least for last week. And I think that's why he played so bad. I just think it completely blindsided him. I think he had a week now, obviously going to Rotterdam, expected to be the villain, was at least able to prepare for it. They said he was on the broadcast, he was preparing like crazy before this match. And the story, he played fine. The story was, this is probably Gezi Price's worst performance in the Premier League this year, which says something about his floor. He still averaged 91, but I think, I don't know if the back was still bothering him, just didn't really look up for it. He's probably still fine in the greater picture of the table, but good on Luke to get past. I mean, one of the more hostile crowds we've really ever seen in the Premier League against the player, and he handled it and took care of business.
Yeah, there was a sort of a couple of bits that I noticed, and I'll probably come to you, Dan, on. So first of all, the crowd they were heavy. But what I felt was, and I think Luke was quite lucky that he didn't play. He wasn't playing a home nation player. I think if he was playing one of the Dutch boys, that it might have been a more visceral reaction from the crowd. Whereas I felt it was quite pantomime. I felt it was because he was, because he wasn't playing, a national hero or something. I thought it was a bit pantomime, and that allowed him to put it to one side maybe. But then getting into the match, I think it seemed like Gezi lost all of the critical moments in the game. He didn't play badly, but like he lost that first break of throw. He's immediately 2-0 down. He catches a break back, but then can't hold. It just seemed like whilst he played well, he did the wrong things at the wrong time. The timing was all off, wasn't it?
Well, that's the story of almost any time Price plays Littler at the moment, isn't it? You know, we've talked on here and we see a Price probably number 2 in the world at the moment on floor across the board. But it's a bit unfortunate that the number 2, his bogey player, is the world number 1. And he's just consistently losing them good moments. I mean, I think from the Price perspective, he probably wasn't 100% tonight. You know, he showed up. So that there's definitely caveats that we can have from that perspective. But if you put on a Littler Price match and got a summary of it from ChatGPT, for example, that's probably been par for the course for the last 10 games. I think what helped Luke tonight is it was hostile, but it was steady. I mean, there was a little bit of whistling, but it didn't seem like it was volatile and
that's it.
Flaring up. It was consistently hostile.
And I think if he'd have been playing one of those Dutch players, we'd have seen those moments, you know, that stupidity, those whistles, the shouting out, and then he, as we've seen, so is tempted then to react to individuals in the crowd and point the finger, isn't he?
Yeah, no, I mean, we all know Luke likes to play with a crowd, and we obviously spoke last week, Dave. We were quite concerned about his ability to deal with the crowd, and I don't think Price put him under the pressure he could do, but I'm going to say a fair play to Luke because it's only took him 7 days how to figure out how to deal with a hostile crowd, and that's why he's the best in the world.
Yeah.
How comfortable are you both? And I mean, we'll come to predictions a little bit later, so just we don't have to go into too much detail, but you know, Price at the minute, he's had a good. He's had a very good campaign, I suppose, so far. Sits in that 3rd spot. He's not safe. I think he benefited from the results tonight. You know, if you're sat in 3rd trying to protect it, having numbers 1 and 2 in the final is handy because no one below you is picking up big points. But are either of you yet happy to say Gezi Price comfortable at the O2, or do you still think he's on the wire?
As long as this back issue isn't anything to worry about and Gezi can go back to playing the darts that we've seen in the previous 9 weeks, I think he's absolutely fine. I think this season we've seen Gerwen Price put together possibly one of the best nights in Premier League history.
Yeah.
And he might not put it together 3 games in a row very often, but it's not a flash in the pan. He does have them performances. I think he's, unless this back injury is really bad and going to scupper him in the last few weeks, I think he's there 100%.
Yeah, I think the other part of it is just looking who's behind him. The only player behind him that I could realistically see getting past him, I mean, you have to say, you want to say MVG because he's only 3 points behind. That feels like more of a long shot than Luke Humphries, who's 6 points behind catching him, who's looked fine and the results haven't gone his way. So it's almost more of an indictment of the people below him. Just none of them have been consistent enough for me to think they're going to be able to make a real run at him. And even if just one of them leapfrog him, he'll still be in the top 4. So I think he's fine. He's not sitting out as pretty. I would consider Clayton and Littler in pretty much clinched. Like they're fine based on their point totals. Price just needs 1 or 2 more decent nights and he should be fine cruising into the final few weeks.
Well, I shall drag out a phrase you used there was people who have not been consistent enough in this year's Premier League. And I think that brings us very nicely into game number 2 this evening. Luke Humphries and Jan van Veen. And Luke Humphries, I think here, he sort of lured me in. This wasn't a particularly strong performance from Jan. You know, the low 90s average, the checkout, the doubling wasn't very good. It wasn't brilliant from Humphries, but I felt he would build on it. And I don't know, Dan, I don't know if you were like me and saw that win and thought, because tonight could be the night, you know, because it's got to come sooner or later, hasn't it? Surely 1 in 16.
I mean, we're saying that a lot, though. Like, when do you start to get concerned about the fact that we keep seeing Luke Humphries is playing too well to not win a night? And there's only so many nights I can keep giving him that pass before there's a bigger problem that needs to be addressed. And he just doesn't seem to be able. He's been unfortunate because the way he plays, if he got the right draw, he would have probably won a night. But he's not consistently putting the form together. You can argue there's a little bit of unfortunate timing with who he's playing. But Luke Humphries just doesn't fill me with confidence that he's going to win the right moments, do the right thing at the right time 3 games in a row at the moment.
Yeah, Dave, Jan, the last couple of weeks we've seen, obviously we know that he was unwell a few weeks ago. Obviously, he needed to get some surgery. No matter what type of surgery you have, I think it's difficult to then or to recover from. Since then, we've seen, I want to say, a mixed bag, because we did see a run to the final in Manchester, but this is 2 first-round losses in a row. He's sitting now outside of. I mean, he's not just sitting outside the top 4. He's a considerable lump of points back. Is it? I don't know. Are you worried about the rest of the campaign for Jan at the minute? Because it started so well, didn't it? But after those first few weeks, I think it's been a real struggle for him.
There's a case to be made with how Rock and Bunting have been playing, that if you can just separate yourselves from those few finals he made, he's been maybe the worst player in the Premier League this year. He because a lot of his wins have been like 95 average, just getting over the line. We haven't seen that ceiling we saw over the weeks at Ali Pali, where he was just dominant and he was, averaging in ton plus and showing that ceiling where people are like, I mean, this guy could win not one but multiple world championships in his career, given how young he is. Like, we feel so far removed from that. He gets up there and you just don't see it. And I don't know if it's nerves. I don't know if it's the surgery, like you said. It's probably a combination of everything. I'm super curious to see how he does going down the line into the summer and obviously into the back half of the year. But him and Josh Rock feel like they've swapped bodies in the way their seasons have gone. Jan seemed so comfortable in the beginning, was able to get to the finals and rack up some quick points, and now he's just kind of been a rock falling down, no pun intended, a rock falling down the table. And we'll get to Josh Rock, but he looks more comfortable now. So it's so fascinating seeing these younger guys and how they're getting acclimated to the Premier League. But yeah, worrying times, 6-2 and just not really looking in the match at any point. And good for Humphries for capitalizing on it. Like we said, he needs to. He's running out of time.
Yeah, it's a very strange circumstance, isn't it, when we find ourselves celebrating a Luke Humphries first round win in the Premier League. Like, this is a guy that he comes in. Besides, outside of Littler, came in tournament, must have came in tournament, pre-tournament favourite behind Littler. Must have been the second favourite from all respect. It must have been second favourite to win the league stage and second favourite to win the tournament. The idea that we're now thinking may not make it through is interesting. We'll talk a little bit more about Luke Humphries later on, because of course he did get a second chance to play, and we'll talk about Jan when it comes to predictions. I'm not sure that's going to be a comfortable conversation if you're a Jan van Veen fan, though, to be honest. Game number 3 this evening. So, and this was just, it wasn't what I expected, to be completely honest, Dave. I thought that we were going to see another, and mind you, whilst I don't think Michael van Gerwen's record in Rotterdam is anything to shout about, clearly the crowd see him as a god, and sometimes he just finds these moments these days, and I thought tonight would be one of them. But yeah, he got ferreted, didn't he? I think he just got slightly outplayed and couldn't get in the game at all. Michael van Gerwen here.
I'm worried. I'm worried from a headspace perspective. This morning you had, or it was within the last 48 hours, the Vincent van der Voort kind of he went on the podcast and said that, MVG's out acting like a 20-year-old now after his personal life has opened up a bit. And He's like, there's videos of him out clubbing and he loses this match. He's like, the old MVG would not have been giggling with Johnny Clayton after he took out that big checkout to win it. And it feels harsh, but he just doesn't look bothered anymore. I know he's won this event 7 times. It'd be very hard for me to get up to win this after I've won this event once. So I can't imagine where his motivation levels are, but it's just real. The performances are so inconsistent now. He's the hardest player in the Premier League, and maybe with a tour card to predict what the hell you're going to get on a daily basis. And it's just very uninspiring. And he's missing obviously all the pro tours. And I don't know. I just wonder if like the fire's gone. He's still very talented. I know the throw has changed, but worrying times. And he just doesn't, even if he gets to the O2, like, he just does not feel like a threat. I almost want someone else to get there. It's a really harsh take on it, but Johnny played great, but it just felt like a no-show to me.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because he, I think he's clearly doesn't need to be financially motivated anymore. Like I think he so that's not motivating him. I think he has almost accepted that he can't consistently compete he's not going to consistently be lifting trophies because the others around him are too good. He might win one here and there. He might have a good spell, good tournament, take advantage of a few people not playing so well. I do think it's difficult to predict what the future holds for Michael van Gerwen. But Dan, he always seems to find a way. We seem to spend 6 months talking about Michael van Gerwen playing not very well, and then he'll make a World Championship final. And then we think he's been crap, and we look at it and we think, well, this guy's not playing properly, he's nowhere near his best. But then you look at the table and think, you know what? He's probably going to be at the O2 though, isn't it? And it's difficult, isn't it? Because are we fooling ourselves? Is our expectation just too high because of how good he was at his peak that we've been spoiled?
There's definitely an element of that. We're comparing Michael to past Michael, who possibly on his day is the greatest ever person to play darts in his prime. I don't think that's an outlandish thing to say. I think the problem with Michael is, if we look at kind of when he was that, possibly 2016, 2017, over the last 10 years, it's started to get, there's still them magical moments, but the bad darts are starting to creep in. But the percentage-wise of the good, when it's great and when it's not, is definitely starting to swing now as to it's probably not great more than it is now. And I do think there's an element he will win games just because he's Michael van Gerwen. And against lesser players, they will have lost the match before they step on the hockey. But against the Premier League, you're going against some of the best players in the world. They're not scared. You can average 100 and they can beat you. Like it doesn't matter. And I don't like the fact he's smiling after winning. We would never smiling after losing. We would never ever have seen that a few years ago. And
very Michael van Gerwen, isn't it?
It is, and if I want Michael to be annoyed and go back to the practice board and put in 5 hours and find what is still there in small percentages, and I don't get the impression that's what he's doing at the moment. It doesn't seem like he's that bothered about it to go out and fix it.
I think the elite sportsman, and Michael for a long time, it is, I include him in that. Elite sportsman, I think that there's lots of things they have to have, but one of them is a why. Like they have to have a reason, because the mentality is because of the mentality that you need to have to be an elite sportsman. You need to have a why. There's got to be some motivation, and everybody's is different, but I'm not sure that Michael either has it or can articulate it. And I think he sort of, I don't know whether he's stumbling around looking for a why. Like, what is my why? Why is it? Is it? Am I trying to, create a legacy? I think, I don't know if the talent that's come through has maybe put him off thinking of, well, I could get to 5 World Championships. I could get to 10 Premier Leagues, whatever that could be, whatever records he could have broken. I think he looks at the players around him now and thinks, well, oh, this is not, what is that I have essentially already built my legacy. Probably, this might be what my legacy is. These are the accolades that I will have. And it's difficult then to see what that motivation is going forwards. Match 4, quarterfinal 4. And we have seen a change in fortunes for Mr. Josh Rock, because after 7 nights without a win, this is 4 in a row where he's won in the quarterfinal. It's 4 first-round wins in a row for Josh Rock. 5, is it maybe? Perhaps 4? 4, I think.
I think it's 4, yep.
6-1. This was, Stephen Bunting, again, who has been incredibly consistent in playing amazingly and getting beat, averaging 105. He seems to be constantly playing unbelievably well in terms of his scoring, but not being able to get near a win too regularly. But is this just what we expected and should hopefully continue to see from Josh Rock, Dan? Is he in the groove now fully?
I hope so. I think it's definitely too little too late for this year. But what we've seen I would like him to try and get a semi-final and a final night in this season. I feel like that would be good preparation and a very good learning year if he can go off and perform well in the majors later in the season, for him coming back next year to really try and challenge for a top 4 spot. It was looking like he might go with a big donut all season at one point. And then if he gets in next year, we have the whole argument, it'll be all over Twitter when the selection came out. Josh Rock shouldn't be there. So I think he's done enough. If he's in next year now, the fans will be okay with it. And I think he'll be a lot better prepared. I just think he's probably left it 3 or 4 weeks too late to start picking up quarterfinal wins.
Yeah, Dave, Stephen Bunting, again, these are the two. I think I've got to think, maybe Bunting more than Rock. We saw people questioning his selection in the Premier League. The points gap now at the bottom with these semi-finals that we've seen Josh Rock make consistently, it's narrowing, and there is still a long way to go. Stephen Bunting has one of the hardest, I'm going to call it a run-in, but he's got some really difficult games coming up. He could still finish bottom, after all of the sort of debate about whether or not he should be in. And then I think after, feeling like he'd maybe put that to bed, winning night 4, he could still finish bottom, couldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you could make a case for a lot of guys, especially with the way Rock's playing, to still finish bottom. And Steven's tough because I've kind of been buying in as he's looked more comfortable. I think you can say unlucky based on the averages, but as we know, they don't tell the whole story. And so many times he races you to that double, can't hit it. And a lot of times he's just losing a leg when he's got somewhere between 10 and 40 left. And it just makes his numbers look a lot better than if he loses against the throw and he's got 200 something left. So it can be a little misleading. The outer ring is clearly his problem. And that was the case here. He was 1 for 7 on the doubles and Josh was 6 for 12. So yeah, it's too inconsistent. When he's on, you can tell pretty early in the night and you can think, oh, he's got a shot to win this night, which he did in 4. And, I just don't think he's going to put it together enough. If you take away that night, which is a little unfair, but he's got 11 points. That's almost half his points in one night. It's just not. He's having too many no-shows, and it's happening on the outer ring. That's what's killing him. And I just think that he's going to have to figure that out. I don't know if he gets invited back, especially if he finishes bottom again. It makes it an even harder case unless he wins something crazy in order to get him in for a. Would this be his 4th time if he gets invited back? Yeah,
he's 8th in the world now. And, of course, others are closing in on him. If he doesn't pick something up, he's 8th in the world at the minute, but he's only $6,000 ahead of Gezi Price. I expect Gezi Price to have a better next few months than Stephen Bunting in ranking tournaments. So I think, that puts him to ninth. Then you look at who's behind him and what's coming up, and you think, well, there's a decent chance that next time we have the conversation, he's outside the top 10, he's finished bottom, and it's then a big conversation as to, especially if others have had a better year. Right, semi-finals, and this was, I think, for people that are, and there was some that will argue that they are sick of seeing this game. I don't tire of it. And this is why, and I'll tell you for why, we're the darts geeks, we're the people that watch everything and watch, I've got a big family, there's 5 of us, there's me and the missus and 3 kids. There was 20 minutes tonight where all of the family were in the same room watching the TV. And it was when that game was on. So intermittently throughout the night, the littlest one, he came in whenever Littler was playing, and the bigger lad, he came in and watched a bit here and there. But when Luke Humphries was playing Luke Littler, that's when every member of the family came into the front room, sat down in front of the TV and watched it. And I do think, right, regardless of people thinking they've seen a lot of it, this game still draws interest. And, Humphries going 5 from 7 on the double, the way that game swung and the way that it then went to a deciding leg, and this is what we want when we see these games, isn't it, Dan? But I just thoroughly enjoyed it, and again, I thought it was a good win for Littler, especially in front of that crowd. Made me worry even more for Humphries, because when you are playing that well, doubling that well, and still not winning, it's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, I know there was a lot of chat. I don't think it's been as frequent because we've been starved of this matchup this year in the Premier League a little bit. The two Lukes haven't been winning quarterfinals and making finals every night like they have done in the past. So I think that's maybe shut up some of the comments. But yeah, even when who doesn't want to watch the best 2 players in the world play every week? Even when they are the best 2, you want to see them clear. You want to see it go to a deciding leg, and you want to see how it plays out. And this match is the issue with Luke Humphries at the moment, because on paper you look at it, 5 out of 7 on the doubles, 103 average. There's too many of them where he's not winning. It's starting to become, and it's nowhere near to the degree that it is, but it's starting to become a little bit like the Stephen Bunting curse, where the average is there and somehow he's just not winning matches. It's nowhere near to that standard or degree. But going back to Littler, I think getting over the line in a sudden death shootout with that crowd will do absolute wonders for him. I think that was the big finger back to the crowd that he was wanting to deliver tonight, and he did it with his darts. There was a couple of little bites in there, but he didn't need to react too much.
Well, that was for me, and we'll talk about the final, of course, in a moment, but it's at that point, Dave, that I thought Littler's winning this night. I wasn't having it that Littler wasn't winning. If you're going to come through a deciding leg with a crowd like that coming at you, and your opponent's done 7 from 5 on the double, or 5 from 7 on the doubles, and you've come through it, that's when I think, well, that's your night, isn't it? You're coming through. But I do think after a couple of, and again, it's Luke Littler, so we think he's had a rough time of the Premier League, and he's had a few bum results, and things haven't gone his way, and he's still second and pissed, pissed it all the way to the O2, nice and easy. But do you think he'll have taken quite a bit from that, and it might have just steadied the ship a little bit as he continues down this Premier League campaign?
Yeah, I think this was just another hurdle for him to kind of, get over, and one that I wasn't sure he was able to. I know I vocalized last week. I was like, we've seen him do everything, but the one thing we've seen him struggle with is these hostile environments. It's when that third player steps up to the hockey, which is the crowd, and they get involved and they start saying their word, and it distracts him from the match, and it just kind of, it can get in his own head. And to speak on the rivalry, I know we talk about maybe not having many in the sport, but I feel like this might still be the best one. And it's almost because of the, it's like a Tom and Jerry element with Littler and Humphries, where you like Humphries is changing all these equipment, like he's like pausing with his throw, like all these things we talked about, where he's clearly bothered that he cannot compete with this little twerp who has come in and taken over this era where Humphries won Worlds, he beat him, he's like, this is my time, I'm playing the best I've ever played, and then suddenly this kid comes along and goes back to back. Humphries can't keep up with him. He's lost 6 of his last 7 against him, and now this happens, and I think there's such an allure to seeing like maybe this is the time he can get one against them and pick him off. And I almost hope we see it happen in a major just to keep it fresh. But it's still something that, like you said, you just kind of stop everything you're doing when the two play, no matter if it's Premier League, a Pro Tour, a Euro Tour, a major. But it was impressive to see Luke handle it, because that was a serious question I had after last week. I didn't think it was a coincidence he had such a low average with the crowd being against him.
Yeah, it's certainly a big positive, I think, for Luke. And again, like, it's funny, isn't it, talking about him? Oh, maybe he can take it. And, I tell you what, with a bit of confidence, this kid could really do something, couldn't he? We shall see what the future holds for him, eh? Right, I tell you what, the players conspired, because we were on track at one point for the earliest start in the history of the Fallout Bar. And then we got 2 6-5 semi-finals on the spin. We roll straight into semi-final number 2. And this, again, was a really, really funny old game, because Josh Rock, he should have won this game. Like, he really should have won this game. That was, from Johnny Clayton, one of, and I haven't got the stats, I don't know how many, that was one of the worst performances of the Premier League this year in terms of scoring, which is weird from Johnny, because Johnny is a solid scorer, big finisher, but it was one of the worst performances so far. And Josh Rock played very, very well, but he just couldn't hit a double, Dan.
Yeah, it was Josh Rock snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. 5 out of 20 on his doubles. And it's what we've seen for Rock. Yes, he has improved in recent weeks, but if the doubles are great one game and the scoring's a little bit off, the scoring will be right next game, but the doubles are off. We're not really seeing him consistently put both together, and that's the issue. I mean, Johnny, 6 out of 10, 60% on his doubles, and still managed to average only 87.9, which, I mean, that's a deal like robbery. I don't know how he's got away with that, but
it doesn't make. I mean, the statistics don't make any sense, do they? They don't make sense at all.
No, and I think the first 5 or 6 legs, Rock had darts and a double in every leg. It could have been a whitewash. That was a game he was the only person that was in control of, and it's a shame to see, but at the same time, that is the reminder that Johnny Clayton is one of them players you just can't miss against, because even if his scoring isn't right, you very rarely get the ferret on a bad night on the outer ring, and he'll always be there or thereabouts if you're not going to take your chances.
Do you think, Dave, Josh Rock can actually take something from this, though? Because, obviously we've seen that's 4 quarterfinal wins in a row. He's got to another semi-final. He's still averaged really well. The big 1-4-2 checkout was superb. He's played very well. Like, Johnny's stolen a victory there. And, we'll come to predictions a little bit later, but are you thinking that Josh Rock is heading in a different direction at the minute to perhaps other players on this year's Premier League campaign?
Yeah, this one hurt me, because I last week mentioned, as Dan will remember, I was all over. I was like, man, Josh Rock 12-1 to win the night. I like this little draw he had, and this match was going, and I was like, I think we might have something here. We might get to a final, and I was so sad when he couldn't pull it out. But I think there's something to take from it. He's still throwing a lot. He's one of those players where, in my opinion, it's so noticeable when the confidence is there versus when it isn't, because he's so rhythm-based. He throws very hard, so he's very power-based. Similar to Littler in that way, where you can just see when he's on it, just based on how the dart's hitting the board, how he's following through, how fast he's playing. And he looked a lot better even in this match. The doubling is kind of, even before the Premier League, probably been like the crutch of his game, the thing that can go by the wayside. And we've seen some of the ridiculous scoring he can put in on the floor. We saw it at the World Cup. So it just kind of felt like one of those games for him. I'm not reading too much into it. It does obviously sting because this is now 4 weeks straight where he can't get out of the semifinal, and this was like literally no one's had a match handed to them on a silver platter more than this. So I tough one to swallow. I think it may be a little bit easier that it's night 11 and he's shrugging his shoulders saying it probably won't matter at the end anyway. But I will think he will get to the end of the season and say, man, if I could just have one or two of those semifinals back, who knows what happens in a final? I could be right in the hunt for the playoffs. So that's tough, but he's at least improving. It's been a pretty steady line for him over the last month.
Well, speaking of what happens in a final, Dave, and once again, you've done an incredible job of just teeing me up nicely to lead in to the next feature, which was, of course, today's final. And this just didn't go where I thought it was going, to be honest, Dan. This game started off and we saw Luke Littler came out of the traps. I think it was it 4 180s in the first 3 legs? And it looked, I thought, just like we just discussed there, I thought he's come through that semi-final. He's come through the deciding leg against Humphries, against all those doubles. He's now come out, and this is when we see the afterburners go on. We know now he's going to blow that off, and we're going to see 180, 181. And I was sat here literally nudging my son, and I was saying, it's a 9 dart of this game. This is where this is exactly the sort of thing this kid does. We're getting a 9. I was going to sit there, Doll. You don't have to go to bed. You can stay up and watch this 9 dart. And then all of a sudden, it just swung. And once again, Johnny Clayton he just seems to constantly be there whenever anyone takes their eye off the ball, whenever anyone has an off leg. He's just there to immediately just run in. And I expect every time I'm playing darts, if I have a shit leg, I expect Johnny Clayton just to run behind me and throw a double and go, mine, thank you, won that as well.
Take out a 76 in 2 darts. And
honestly, the man has a talent for just being there when you aren't at your best. And I think that's exactly what he's done here, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was running around grabbing my AirPods in the first 3 legs. I was like, "Oh, we'll be live in 5 minutes at this rate. He's flying.
Where's my laptop charger? Where's this? Where's that?"
And then I'm not sure what went wrong, but all of a sudden, for the next 4 or 5 visits, he had a different throw every visit. I don't know what he was searching for or what went wrong with the throw that got him 4 180s in the first 3 legs. But it just all went out the window and it became a bit of a good old-fashioned dogfight. And Johnny Clayton's not the guy you want to play that game with, because you're not going to come out on top. You need to outplay Johnny Clayton by quite a considerable amount to beat him. If you're going to try and make it an ugly scrap with him, he's going to win every time.
Hey, David, are these the sort of games that we need to be paying more attention to, our players should be paying attention to, as we start to hone in on the O2? You know, like when in those game weeks now where you get 1 and 2 are on opposite side of the bracket, we get a 1 and 2 final. These guys know they're going to be playing each other in a few weeks, or they're going to be playing in a 4 in the next few weeks. And are these where, I mean, I'm not convinced Luke will. But Johnny, perhaps, is he going to look at that and think, I can come and, are these the games he's going to really take something from as we get on that run in to the final?
Yeah, he's just one of those guys that's so sticky. Like, that's the best word I can think of, is that he just hangs around no matter what you do. If you slip on any leg, and Littler was pretty clear, early on, he got the break right away. Like, it felt, and I thought coming in he was going to be great. And he's one of those guys, like, if you think of, obviously we talk about James Wade, like I think of Andrew Gilding, I think of just these guys that are really sticky and just hang around, even like a Ryan Joyce, where they're never going to have an off night on the doubles, and they just hang around. And if you give them a visit or a dart, this is what happens. This is what happens. It's going to happen a lot of the time. And I mean, just credit to him. And yeah, I think this is something he can definitely take from it, is he has that mental fortitude of like, all right, we've seen it with him so many times. Oh, I just threw a 30, like he did in the last leg. And he's not bothered. He's like giggling it off, and he just knows, all right, next 3 darts. And then he goes up and he still wins the match. So it's incredible how mentally strong he is, and it doesn't even seem like it's that hard for him. He just looks like he's having a blast being there, and he's always said that about the Premier League. So I think he just needs to keep doing that, and go into the O2 saying, yeah, I might be the on paper the fourth best player here, but I'm sticking with you the whole way, and I'm grabbing your ankle, and I'm going to try to pull you down and get across the finish line first, because that's the kind of player he is. So I do think that you're right. That's something he can take with him to the O2 and accept that he might not be the best, but he doesn't mean he can't win.
Well, speaking of Johnny Clayton, the hardest working man in darts, Mr. Phil Bars, well, do you know, I thought at first that he'd done something really impressive by travelling all the way to Rotterdam for these interviews, until I realised that from where Phil lives, him travelling to Rotterdam is about the same as him travelling to my house. Like, it's almost the same distance. And I was boring enough to put that into Google Maps to find out just how far he's gone and how realistic it is. Yeah. And from Phil going to Rotterdam is about the same as Phil coming to the northeast of England. So it's not that impressive, but he did go there for us all, and he has got an interview with tonight's winner, Johnny Clayton, which I can now share with you all.
I don't know. Don't ask him just in case, he gives it away. But no, genuinely, I don't know. I just relax. He plays his game. He started off amazing. He was hitting 180s for fun, and I was thinking, wow, how do I compete with this? But all of a sudden, something changed. I got ahead, and I kind of stayed there. So yeah, really enjoyed that.
Does it feel like you've got one over him at the moment because you keep beating him?
Not at all. I'm not going to say anything about that, because probably he'll come back and beat me up. But no, to be fair, I go up and try and win a game. Luke goes up and tries to win a game. At the moment, the granddad has got one up. Well, I think rankers show everything. It's consistency in it. You know what I mean? When you're world number 1 and world number 2, oh my God, it's fantastic. You're doing something really well. You have to be world champion. To be fair to Gian, at world number 3, he lost in the final to Luke last year. And then we follow. You got Mike, myself, and Wadey coming behind. It's like, we've got to be consistent. We've got to play darts. We've got to perform week in, week out, and that's the only way that you can stay in the top 8, top 10.
Well, I get the consistency of it, but right now, do you feel one of the best players in the world?
I feel like Johnny Clayton was just won, a night of the Premier League, and that's it.
He's not going to say. He's not going to commit. I mean, to be fair, like Johnny talks then, and he talks about being in the top 8, being in the top 10. Like, the man is the world number 5, and he's the world number 5 by it's one decent run in a tournament gets him to world number 4. Like, he's one of the best players in the world, and I get he doesn't like to be the man that comes and says it, but I feel like somebody should say it on his behalf every now and again. Like, it's he just is that good, isn't he?
I think Johnny's just far too classy of a guy to sit there and say, I've got one over on Luke. That's not Johnny. Johnny is possibly the nicest guy in darts. He's just a great bloke. But I do hope that up here, mentally, he starts to believe it a little bit. Because I think if we can get that out of Johnny Clayton, where I don't think he goes into games thinking he's ever been beat. He doesn't seem like the type of guy to overthink it. But if we can get him going into games believing he's going to win and believing he's got a chance of going to these tournaments, I could be the world champion, I'm going to go win the Euro. I think he's that close to being able to do it. I just think he needs a little bit more. I don't want to say belief, because he definitely has it, but belief that he belongs at that top table. Because he does. He's absolutely walking the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah, if you think it's only within the last few years, as a Premier League champion, that he decided he would step away from being a full-time plasterer, and become a darts player. Like, I think sometimes I think he doesn't quite realise that he's, an elite sportsman, and he and as good as he is.
Imagine if you give Johnny Clayton a Scott Williams mindset.
Well, yes.
Oh.
I mean, God. I'm not sure the world is ready for that.
I just broke my brain.
Right. So next week we are traveling to. Geez, I'm not having the M&S Bank Arena for crying out loud. It's the Echo Arena. We're going to Liverpool. We've had a couple of home venue favourites not play particularly well tonight. We've got a home venue for a player next week. Let's see what everybody makes of it. Don't forget, in the chat room, make sure you get your predictions in. We'll stick them on the screen and ridicule you next week when they are wrong. I'm going to have to make a note of what I predict. In fact, no, I can have double predictions because I'll be doing them on the live lounge as well on Monday. So, in the chat room, get your predictions in. I will come to both Dave and Dan for theirs. Game number 1 next week, and this is a tough one. If you are struggling for form, and Jan van Veen has got to take on Gerwen Price. Dan, I'll come to you first for your prediction here.
The only slight doubt in my mind is if Price's back injury is anything serious. Given his travel to Rotterdam, I'm going to assume it's probably not. So there's only one winner in that match, and it's going to be Gerwen Price, 6-3. I'll give Van Veen 3 legs, but that's going to be quite comfortable, I think.
Dave?
Yeah, I just can't. I can't back Van Veen from what I've seen lately, unfortunately. As much as I want to, I've been kind of holding out hope that things would maybe right the ship a little. I believe we're still on the active streak of every week he has been first round loss or make a final. I believe we're still on that. And I think it continues. I think Gezi wins. I think he wins 6-2 here.
I'm going to agree. 6-2 for me, Gezi. I think I was really concerned when I heard that he cancelled some exhibitions because of the injury, and I was really worried. And then I saw enough tonight, especially knowing that he's got another week. And I also know that he's not daft, Gezi. And I think he's one of the players that, if he is carrying an injury, will make all the right decisions to make sure that he does the best thing that he can do to put him in the self, or to heal that injury as quick as possible. So I think I'm pretty confident that that's going to be a Gezi win. In the chat room, we've got some picks in. Gordon has gone Price winning 6-3. Bob's got Price 6-4. Paddy's gone Price 6-2. Bobsy's in there as well with a Price 6-4. If you're in the room, make sure you do get your picks in, but it's a clean sweep across the board there.
Have we gotten word on him this weekend at the Euro Tour? Is he officially out?
Ooh, pass. I'm not sure,
the Wikipedia's page says he's still here, but as we've discussed in the past, definitely not as up to date. I can try to find that.
Yeah, I know. So I don't think he has formally withdrawn at this stage.
You got to think he does.
I think, I'm not sure if, I tell you what I think, if I'm honest, I think if the Premier League wasn't in Rotterdam, then he'd withdraw. But I think I think because he's in mainland Europe and he's, a train journey away, then I would expect him to be there. Again, because of the logistics. If tonight's Premier League was in Aberdeen, I'd say, no, he's not, especially not with a back injury or whatever. I'm pretty sure that he will be there. I'd be really surprised, and I do think if he does pull out, I think it may be reactionary to however he's feeling after having played tonight. Is what I would guess, but no, I think he's there. Game number 2, and this is a bit worrying, Dave, because this is the home Premier League night for Stephen Bunting. He will have, oh God, I don't know what the collective noun is for that lot. And a reeler full of people. Yeah, I'll stick with people. Screaming the words to titanium as Stephen Bunting takes on number 1, Johnny Clayton.
So
Will the home field advantage be enough?
I'm looking last year and I noticed two things. One, he lost 6-1 in Liverpool last year. And this was night 12, so the monkey was off his back. It's not like it was early. Two, I'm noticing that it feels like so long ago that Rob Cross was in the Premier League, but that's who he lost to.
Remarkable, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you, last year's Premier League campaign, if you're losing to Rob Cross, you're fucking up against it.
Yeah.
That might have been Rob Cross's only win, was it, last year?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I don't want to remember that. I don't want. I tried to erase that from my mind. This just like you can just like picture this match in your head. Like Johnny averages 90, 93. Steven averages like 98. But the outer ring tells a story, and Johnny wins like 6-4 with like a late break a throw or something. Like that's just what it feels like. I'm not going to go against my gut. I think Steven's playing better, but Johnny's just like he's playing like a top 3, top 4 player in the world right now. You can't keep going against them, as I've stupidly done for a lot of the year because I'm stubborn. Not this one. I'll go 6-4 Johnny.
Dan?
I agree with Dave's assessment almost entirely, but I think we haven't seen Johnny Clayton play very well tonight, and I think we're due 100 plus from the Ferret, so I'm going to see a 6-1.
I like it.
Yeah, 6-3. I agree. The Ferret. I just think it's going to be too much for Bunting. I think we have seen him. I still think he's a bit fragile. And I'm not sure whether the pressure of where he is in the league, I think he might build it up too much himself, like being in Liverpool and having the pressure to perform there as well. And I think of all the players you could be playing against, who a man I've never seen booed in all the years I've watched darts. Like in all the years I've watched darts, I've never seen a crowd boo Johnny Clayton. Why on earth would anyone boo Johnny Clayton? It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's absurd. So I guess even the Scousers aren't going to engage in that sort of behaviour. So he's not, whilst he'll have the crowd behind him, I think he's going to have all the pressure from the crowd, expectations of him performing well, without the crowd upsetting his opponent. So I think he's almost got the worst deal possible.
And he's definitely the type of fella that can let that get into his head as well.
1,000,000%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think he really struggles with that on next week. And yeah, so it's just the wrong man for him to have to play, I think. Let's have a look in the chat room. We've actually got a bit of a mixed bag. I think Bob's maybe going the other way, but Gordon has got the Ferret winning 6-4. Bob's got Bunting winning 6-5. Tell you what, Bunting coming through a decided leg in Liverpool, like it takes some stones that I'm not sure he's carrying around. Bobsy's got 6-2, but I could do with you committing either way, mate. And Paddy has gone 6-1 Clayton. Bunting crumbles in Liverpool, and I am finding it hard not to disagree with Paddy on that one, I'm afraid. Game. Oh, do you know what? That's how bad it is. I'm back a year ago. I'm in the 2025. I was looking at Rob. That's how we do 3 things at once. I'm browsing Rob Cross's campaign last year.
Just last time you did a Fallout bar, mate. That's all it is, isn't it?
That was probably the last time I was on a Fallout show. Yeah, when Rob Cross won a Premier League night. Game number 3. I just think this might be 2 players meeting each other while they're heading in opposite directions.
Yeah. Ships passing in the night.
Did you go first last time, Dan? Dave, I'll come to you. What do we think about Josh? Now, Josh Rock in Liverpool as well. Now, I think there might be a bit of a positive sentiment in Liverpool for Josh Rock. I think he might get a bit of crowd behind him. What do you think in this one?
I have to go. I have to go with Josh Rock. I mean, with a lot of the sentiment I've made earlier tonight, I just think he's playing better. The outer ring is a concern that could obviously, even this form of MVG could take advantage of that. He's still got those, ton plus finishes. Like if Josh gets down to a double on his throw and then, MVG sitting on, like a single treble, like a 116, and Josh has a bit of a mess, like he could easily take that out. He's that kind of player, but I struggle picking him right now. He doesn't give me a lot of confidence. And it's the interest thing. Like that feels a little new to me. It's just, he just doesn't look, from what we've heard in the press, from what we've seen, like he just doesn't I don't know. It just doesn't look the same. He doesn't look as interested. I'll go Josh. I'm going to go Josh. I'll go 6-3.
Dan?
I'm sick of us all agreeing, so I'm going to throw a spanner in the works. Despite the fact I don't trust MVG, he could throw 3 darts and they could go in 3 different segments of the board, and I have no idea where they're going to go at the moment. I think it could be a little bit of a mirror match of the semi-final we've seen this evening, where Rock creates a lot of chances, misses a lot of darts at double, and MVG, throughout a lot of nonsense and rubbish, throws some decent darts at the right time to win. So I'm going to say 6-4.
I'm going to agree with Dave. I think they're heading in. I do think their players, just in this little snapshot of a few weeks, heading in slightly different directions, and some of it maybe is a little bit heart over head. I think that if Rock picks up a win and Van Gerwen doesn't, then everything in the Premier League naturally condenses, like sort of 4th to 8th gets tighter immediately.
That's
and
the chaos result.
Yeah, I want that. You want that to be as tightly stacked as possible, especially in a year where you've got 2 runaways. Like, you want the rest of it to be as tightly stacked as possible. Good, Paul, going into the last few weeks. I will go with a 6-4 to Josh. Rock, and our final quarter-final, rounding out Liverpool, will be won by Luke, of course, because, Dan, it's Luke Humphries against Luke Littler. Which way are you going here?
So I think there'll be a little bit of resistance from the crowd in Liverpool, but I think it'll be a little bit more playful. It'll be a bit more football related, and instead of nasty, so to speak. I think it'll be a bit more humorous and a little bit of banter back and forth. If there's fish getting reeled in, etc., I think it'll be a bit of fun. At the moment, I just can't back Luke Humphries to beat Luke Littler. Just from what we see week in, week out, I can't do it. Humphries is making a season out of not getting over the line in close games, and I don't see why that's going to change in Liverpool. So I'm going to say Littler 6-4.
Dave, what are you thinking?
I might be a little similar to what Dan did to me last game. I might go devil's advocate, and I just think he's getting close in a lot of these. Luke Humphries, like, he's playing well. I still feel like I'm saying this every week. I'm having like deja vu, but he's playing well. His 2 losses to Littler in the Prem this year have both been 6-5. Yeah, I remember. I think the first one was like night 2 or something. And then the 6-5 loss in the Masters. I just think at some point it's got to swing his way. Maybe Littler gets a little rattled. Maybe the crowd is bad again. I think it'll start to die down. I don't think people will keep this shtick up for much longer. But I'll just go 6-5 Humphries in the other. So I'll go 6-5 again, but in the other direction.
I think this is really hard to pick, because I think that I think you're right. I think there's going to be a pantomime baddie element with the football with Littler. And I think with it being the opening game, Littler is maybe a little bit more vulnerable. But I've been saying it for weeks, and this will be the week he makes a fool of me, because I'm sick of picking Humphries to win nights, because I just keep saying, I cannot fathom a Premier League campaign where Luke Humphries doesn't win a night. I can't fathom it. It shouldn't and won't happen. And
running out of chances, though.
Well,
yes.
Well, we've got night 12 in Liverpool. Night 14 is in Leeds. And I think, knowing that he's got Leeds coming up in a couple of weeks, I think he won't want to, but I think he's going to save it for then. So I will go Luke Littler with a 6-3 victory in Liverpool. Right, in chat room, I missed the last ones, didn't I? I'll run through the last ones pretty quick for the last game. Sorry about that, folks. Bob's got MVG winning 6-1. Gordon had MVG winning 6-4. Paddy had Rock winning 6-4. Bobsy had Rock winning 6-3. So we've split the chat room on that one. We think we split the chat room twice because Paddy, the final game, has got Littler winning 6-3. Bob's got Humphries winning 6-4. And we've got Bobsy with Humphries 6-4 as well. So we have really split the chat room in those last couple of games. Gents, before we round off the night, please, next week in Liverpool, give me your winner. And who are they going to beat in the final? Dave, I'll come to you first, mate.
So I have who the hell? Who did I took Gezi, right? I can't even remember. I had to. Yeah, so I have Gezi over. Oh man, do I want him over Clayton? I'm gonna go Clayton. I can't believe I think he's gonna make another final. I just think picking against him it's just silly at this point. The way he's playing, he seems so comfortable in those big moments. Hitting a dart he has to hit. We've seen it every single week. He's been the most consistent player. I just think there's something to be said about that. And then on the bottom, I'm going to take Josh Rock over Humphries, and I'm going to take Josh Rock again. I'm going to take him this week. I think he's just playing really well, and he has that ceiling that we talk about where, like, you get him just one night. All he needs is one night, and he's on it, and it's like he's one of those few guys who, when he's on it, unplayable. Like, has that unplayable ceiling. And I'm just seeing creeps of it recently that make me a little intrigued to take him. And maybe I'll take him again on a flyer with the bookie, so we'll see. But yeah, I'll take Josh Rock. I'll take him 6-4 in the final.
Dan, winner and who they're beating?
Yeah. I don't want to see Clayton to beat Price because then I'm going to be really boring and have the same final as tonight. But the way Johnny's going, I think over 6 legs he's the man to beat. So I'm going to say Clayton beats Price 6-4. Littler will beat Van Gerwen 6-3. And we will go to a deciding leg in the final, and Littler will get him back. It'll be 6-5 to Littler in the final.
Oh, wow. I feel a little bit like my thunder's been stolen here a bit. Because I think Josh Rock wins.
Yeah.
And I'm genuinely being true. Like, I didn't expect you to say that. And I had that one I had that one like ready in the chamber.
I feel bad now. Sorry,
absolutely not. No, it's not. It's like we're experts and we agree. Like, it's happening.
I'm not sure.
Or the opposite. Or now it's definitely not happening.
I've picked Littler and I've been outvoted 2-1 that Josh Rock's going to win the night. I don't know what that means. For
very peculiar, that, doesn't it? It's very, very odd. But I'll go even more rogue as well because I just want to see mess. I think. So Gezi Price, Josh Rock beats Gezi Price in the final in Liverpool. That's what's going to happen.
And yeah, if you get Rock to win the night, I mean, you're getting mess. Now it's like anyone's alive. It's all over.
Yeah, everyone's alive, and that's what I want. Like, realistically, with a few weeks to go, we want everyone to have a chance.
Yeah.
With qualifying, because it makes it all the more fun, doesn't it? So let's hope that we manifest some chaos and we get Josh Rock winning and the tournament stays alive. Right, folks. That's do you know, the last 2 years I've hosted, I think, every single Fallout bar of the Premier League. And this year, it's took me 11 nights to actually be on one. Yeah, sure. I think, like, started this, and then, you know, the first 2 or 3 years, I did every single show, and I feel like it's good though. I feel like we've grown as a team, and now we've got lots of other people that can like add a bit more, and it's miles better than just listening to me every week.
Simpson only does the important Monday night shows now. He doesn't concern himself with the Fallout.
If we've got celebrity guests and tour card holders, and of course we had the lovely Polly on Monday. We've had a stream of impressive guests. So yeah, I have to save myself for those. But yeah, thank you everyone in the chat room. As ever, this show is only fun because you all get involved. So thanks for your predictions. Thanks for all your banter throughout the evening, both with us and with each other. We will, of course, be keeping you up to date all weekend with everything that's going on in the world of darts. You make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Phil Bars will be doing watch-alongs as always, and we'll be back on Monday for the live lounge. I think Phil might have a guest up his sleeve as well, and of course, either me or the rest of the lads will be back next Thursday as the Premier League reaches the end of night 12 in Liverpool. Thank you all very much. Thank you, chaps from across the Pennines and across the pond, Dave and Dan. Thank you very much indeed. I've been Dan Simpson. We have been the Online Darts Fallout Bar. Thank you very much and good night.